H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston and also 32 out west in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the Energy Minister Daryl Vaz is accusing the JPS of applying an incorrect fuel charge to customers' August bills.
Our worst case scenario calculations suggest that a 6% increase in electricity bills would be expected.
JPS has agreed to extend suspension of disconnections to September.
2 men charged for the murders of 8 Jamaicans in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon.
The Bank of Jamaica says the economy will contract marginally due to Hurricane Beryl.
The police are accusing a media house of irresponsible journalism for questioning official crime statistics.
In news from the rest of the world, a journalist working for Venezuela's opposition news site has been detained by the country's secret police.
The Democrats' VP pick Tim Walz will formally accept the party's nomination tonight.
In headline sports, court clears Jason Mackay to contest St. Catherine Football Association presidency this weekend.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the Energy Minister Daryl Vaz has described as incorrect the fuel charge applied by the Light and Power Company JPS to the July to August bills of customers. JPS says the charge is 30%. The minister says 6%. Who's correct? Daryl Vaz will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask what can be done to improve maths passes at the CSEC level. Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. Message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the BOJ has reduced its policy rate for the first time in nearly 2 years by 25 basis points. We'll get reactions from economist Sandra Roden and chartered accountant Dennis Chung.
At 7, former U.S. President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle electrified the stage of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago on Tuesday night. You'll hear more.
We'll have all these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, August 21, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Minister of Energy, Daryl Vaz, has described as incorrect the fuel charge applied by the Light and Power Company Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, to the July to August bills of customers. According to the minister, the actual increase in the fuel charge should have been 6%. That's 24% less than the 30% charged by the JPS. Minister Vaz is alleging there are discrepancies in JPS's calculations. Mahiri Stewart reports.
JPS told angry customers that the increase in their electricity bills was primarily due to a higher fuel charge and, to a lesser extent, a higher billing exchange rate. JPS says the fuel charge on August bills was $32.17 per kilowatt hour compared to the $24.33 for July bills. This represents an increase of 32% or $7.84. But, according to the Energy Minister, calculations by the state-owned oil refinery, Petrojam, suggest the charge should have been no more than 6%.
Our in-house calculations have revealed that there are discrepancies with the calculations being represented in the several JPS bills. Our worst case scenario calculations suggest that a 6% increase in electricity bills would be expected. This is not represented in the bills that are being issued to customers.
The figures provided by the minister suggest that instead of adding $7.84 to the fuel charge, the JPS should have added only $1.46. JPS has explained that the higher fuel charge was as a result of the company buying automotive diesel oil, ADO, to fuel its operations for a week. This was because the usual fuel supply of liquefied natural gas, LNG, was temporarily disrupted. ADO is more expensive than LNG. But Mr. Vaz is rejecting the argument that the use of ADO for a week pushed up the fuel charge to customers by as much as 30%.
One plant had 5 days storage of LNG, one plant could not use ADO, and another plant had to switch to ADO until LNG was available again. LNG was made available from July 6, as I said before, at 9 p.m. For this reason, I reject the assertion given by JPS that the cost of ADO fuel is the reason for the increased bills being sent to Jamaicans. And I urge them to recalculate and recalculate and recalculate and get it right.
The Energy Minister is also questioning why the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, did not query the fuel rate that the JPS provided to it for approval.
Given that this 32% increase in the fuel rate was unprecedented, it raised concerns for me as minister as to why the OUR did not investigate the cause for such an anomaly in the fuel rate provided by JPS, bearing in mind that no information has been provided to suggest that JPS had to operate using ADO for fuel for a prolonged period of time, given that the supply was disrupted for 5 days, and that based on communications from JPS, only one plant would have been utilizing ADO for the period of disruption. These are questions that must be addressed and factors that raise great concern for me as minister and for the government and, of course, all well-thinking Jamaicans.
Checks by our news center with the OUR on Wednesday afternoon were met with silence. The utilities regulator is maintaining that it is not ready to speak on the matter. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the Energy Minister believes the Chief Financial Officer of JPS, Vernon Douglas, should be sanctioned for his conduct in writing to the Finance Ministry about granting concessions on automotive diesel oil, ADO. Minister Vaz made his position known while speaking Wednesday morning at a media briefing at the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, PCJ, in Kingston. Norgay Banton reports.
The minister criticized the JPS CFO, Vernon Douglas, for his failure to inform several stakeholders in the JPS light bill controversy. Douglas wrote a letter to Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark on July 1, 2024. In this letter, Mr. Douglas requested that the Finance Ministry either approve a waiver of the Special Consumption Tax (SCT) on automotive diesel oil ADO needed to generate electricity, or the application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 for the month of July. According to Mr. Douglas's letter, the request came in light of the fact that some of the JPS's plants were without its primary fuel of liquefied natural gas, LNG, and instead required ADO. Speaking Wednesday morning, Minister Vaz described the manner in which this letter was sent by Mr. Douglas as odd.
A letter was sent from JPS to the Ministry of Finance dated July 1, 2024, regarding 3 facilities: the South Jamaica Power Company, the JPS Bourg 114 megawatt combined cycle power plant in Montego Bay, and the New Fortress Energy Jamalco Power Plant. Please note that this letter was not sent to the OUR, neither was it sent to the Permanent Secretary of the Energy Ministry, nor to me as Minister with responsibility for energy. So I'd like to make that categorically clear to clear the air and the confusion that the ministry, the OUR, Permanent Secretary and the Minister was not aware of the letter that was sent, which I do find in itself odd.
However, Minister Vaz expounded when asked by Nationwide's Mahiri Stewart to do so. Minister Vaz suggested that based on the fact that Mr. Douglas didn't copy any of the other major stakeholders, Douglas was apparently their boss.
I find it very curious that the letter was written on July 1st, addressed to the Honorable Nigel Clark, and it was under the signature of a Mr. Vernon Douglas, the Chief Financial Officer, and it is neither copied to his president, it is neither copied to his board, it is neither copied to the OUR, it is neither copied to the permanent secretary, or it is neither copied to the minister with responsibility for all. So the only thing that I can think is that Mr. Douglas is in charge of all of us. That's the only conclusion.
Minister Vaz says the government's board members at JPS were left in the dark by Mr. Douglas's actions. He says he expects JPS to sanction Mr. Douglas for his actions.
For him to be able to write a letter like this as a CFO to the Minister of Finance without any copies to the relevant stakeholders, which includes a minister, includes his president, includes his board, who I can categorically state my 3 members attended no board meeting and were not contacted. And they were not contacted on the estimated bills either. So JPS will have to deal with this. This is not in my scope. But the bottom line is I do find it very, very curious. And I think that answers and sanctions are deserved.
Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
And Minister Vaz says JPS has extended its suspension of disconnection for the non-payment of electricity bills from August 15 to September 15.
JPS has suspended disconnections for the non-payment of bills just before the Hurricane Beryl impacted the island on July 3rd. In recognition of the challenges faced by many after the hurricane and the higher bills now being seen, JPS has extended the disconnection process from August 15th to September 15th. So it means that there will be no disconnections until September 15th, which is commendable based on the suffering of so many people, even those who have gotten back light and just simply can't pay the bills because they have been damaged so badly and their livelihoods have been affected.
He also announced that JPS will be cancelling estimated bills sent to customers that have been without supply. These bills will be replaced with ones that show zero consumption of electricity.
JPS will continue to facilitate flexible payment plans for persons who need more time to pay. Requests are being dealt with on a case-by-case basis, and customers can make requests for payment plans. The third bit of good news is zero consumption for customers out of supply. While the JPS has a regulatory requirement to ensure customers are billed in a timely manner, it appreciates the frustration and experience by customers without supply who have received bills for the period that they are out. In cases where estimated bills were sent out to persons who had no supply, JPS will cancel these bills and generate new bills representing zero consumption and therefore $0 owed for those bills. And there are several of them out there.
Darrell Vaz, the Energy Minister. In other news now, the police have laid murder and gun charges against 2 men in relation to last Sunday's massacre of 8 people in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon. They are Leighton White, otherwise called Bands, and Duchesne Smalling, otherwise called Snowman. Both are from Clarendon. Robian Williams has the details.
White and Smalling have been charged with 8 counts of murder. The pair are also facing charges of wounding with intent, 8 counts of wounding with a firearm, possession of a prohibited weapon, and unauthorized possession of ammunition. White is a 32-year-old farmer of Havana Heights, while Smalling is a 28-year-old laborer of Maypen in the parish. They are charged in connection with the murders of 8 people in Cherry Tree Lane 4 Paths in Clarendon. 8 others were shot and injured in the bloodbath. Among the dead is an 8-year-old boy. A 1-year-old child was also hospitalized arising from the mass shooting. Another suspect in the matter, Steve Smith, otherwise called Ticker or Flybrain, was cut down during an alleged shootout with the police last Wednesday. The gruesome murders led to the declaration of a state of emergency in the parish of Clarendon. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has also declared an all-out assault on gangs arising from the murders. The murders are believed to be a reprisal for an incident that occurred years before. The case against the 2 men is expected to be transferred from the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court to the Home Circuit Court. Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the shooting of 8 people, one fatally, at a wake in Point Hill, St. Catherine on Wednesday was the result of an internal gang conflict. Dr. Chang says the police have so far apprehended some of the suspects.
Very unfortunate incident, and again, it raises the sensitivity of the community, given what has happened recently, and police response is what will, in fact, give corrections to the community, and they certainly have done major work since morning. They've apprehended and identified several of the individuals. There are 2 there particularly, I think they have 1 out of the 2. This was appeared to have an internal gang operation. In this case, although St. Catherine, they were calling over sharing of scamming money. And the individuals identified going to this big wake, which is, as many are aware now, so I can call the name. It was Chris Martin's grandmother. And when he was seen, 2 of the members were upset with him, went after him.
Dr. Horace Chang, the National Security Minister. According to Minister Chang, the man who was killed was the intended target. The police say the incident occurred around 12:25 in the morning. The police say attendees reported seeing 2 men with firearms shortly before explosions were heard. The wake was for the grandmother of entertainer Christopher Martin. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
16 minutes after 5.
Rent-A-Kill Initial is the expert in pest control, air purification, and hygiene services. Call today 876-926-4236.
The temperature by Rent-A-Kill is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 32 at Western Montego Bay. Continuing the news, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, is rejecting recent allegations that it has manipulated crime statistics. In a statement on Wednesday, the JCF described the claims as baseless. It says these claims, attributed to an unnamed security expert, undermine public trust in law enforcement. The JCF says it is committed to transparency and consistently provides accurate, up-to-date crime statistics for public scrutiny. It says for the past 3 years, they've published these statistics weekly, ensuring accessibility to all Jamaicans. The JCF says this practice underscores its dedication to openness and truth. However, the constabulary says it's concerning that some media outlets have chosen to publish unsubstantiated claims without providing verifiable evidence or consulting independent, credible sources. The JCF says journalism plays a crucial role in shaping public perception, and with this power comes the responsibility to report facts accurately and fairly. The police say in this instance, it is regrettable that an anonymous source has been used to cast unwarranted doubt on their statistics.
The Bank of Jamaica, the BOJ, says the Jamaican economy will contract marginally for financial year 2024-25 due to the impact of Hurricane Beryl. The BOJ Governor, Richard Bales, made the projection while speaking at the bank's quarterly media briefing on Wednesday. But as Siobhan Campbell reports, Mr. Bales expects the country will quickly return to growth after the initial setback.
Nearly 2 months after the passage of Hurricane Beryl on July 3, many Jamaicans are still suffering from the lingering effects. Governor Richard Bales says the Category 4 storm wiped out an estimated $6 billion in economic output.
Jamaica's resilience was tested by the passage of the hurricane in July. It impacted the island on the 3rd of July as a Category 4 storm with maximum wind speeds of 230 kilometers per hour. Infrastructure damage to schools, roads, electrical networks, and telecommunication systems is estimated to be very significant. Preliminary estimates of the damage and loss to the agriculture and fisheries sector is $5.7 billion, which is 0.2% of GDP. Crops in the traditional farming parishes such as St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Trelawney, St. Anne, and Clarendon were the most severely impacted.
The central bank governor expects this shock will cause an economic contraction of as much as 1.5% of total gross domestic product GDP.
In relation to demand conditions for financial year 2024-25, the bank projects that real economic activity will be in a range of minus 1.5% to 0.5%, while real GDP in the financial year 2025 to 26 is projected to grow by 1.5% to 3.5%. The projection for 2024-25 largely reflects the anticipated adverse impact of Hurricane Beryl on the economy and is underpinned by contractions in agriculture, forestry, fishing, and construction.
However, the BOJ has already responded to the economic impact of the storm by easing its tight monetary policy. On Tuesday, it reduced the policy rate by 25 basis points to 6.75% per annum, down from 7%. The reduction is in an effort to further stimulate growth. This is buoyed by expectations of inflation remaining stable within the target range of 4 to 6%. Governor Biles believes that over the next 2 years, any shocks stemming from higher prices will be short-lived as the country returns to regular economic activity. He was supported by Deputy Governor Robert Stennett, who says he doesn't expect the impact of Beryl to go beyond a single economic quarter.
The negative growth that we are estimating for the September quarter is more the outcome of the impact of the hurricane than the underlying weakness that has been evident in selected sectors of the economy. So just for clarity, we've been seeing where for several quarters the construction sector has been reflecting negative growth. This is a result of a number of factors, but we accept that tight credit conditions have played a role in that area. More recently, we've seen where manufacturing has posted some declines. That is an area of interest that we are watching, and we are assuming for now that that will be temporary, but of course we will continue to evaluate.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute. A journalist working for Venezuela's opposition news site La Patria has been detained by the country's secret police. Ana Guaito Barreto was reportedly seized at her home near the capital, Caracas. She's the sixth journalist to be detained in the aftermath of the much-disputed July 28 presidential elections. According to the BBC, Barreto has not been told why she was detained. But the trade union representing media workers says she had been targeted because she works for an opposition news site and both her parents are opposition politicians. The Inter-American Press Association is among the organizations that have denounced the systematic repression of journalists in Venezuela.
Day 3 of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago will be headlined tonight by Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate. Walz will formally accept the nomination to be Vice President of the United States. Before him, the convention will hear from former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Nancy Pelosi, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, is also scheduled to speak. Pelosi was widely reported to have led the push for Joe Biden to end his presidential campaign. On Tuesday, former U.S. President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama gave impassioned endorsements of Kamala Harris in back-to-back speeches that electrified the audience in a packed arena. The 4-day convention formally anoints Harris as the Democratic presidential contender. Republicans celebrated Donald Trump at their party's convention just last month.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the Energy Minister Daryl Vaz has accused the JPS of applying an incorrect fuel charge to customers' August bills.
Our worst-case scenario calculations suggest that a 6% increase in electricity bills would be expected.
JPS has agreed to extend suspension of disconnections to September.
2 men have been charged for the murders of 8 Jamaicans in Cherry Lane, Clarendon.
The Bank of Jamaica says the economy will contract marginally due to Hurricane Beryl.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Did you know that the Jamaica Stock Exchange has a loyalty program?
No, what at?
Well, as a JSE Loyalty Club member, you are now able to earn rewards when you shop at any of the participating merchants island-wide.
But I don't own any stocks and I'm not a member.
No problem, man. Join the program by downloading the JSE Loyalty app, activate your account, and start racking up points with every purchase. Redeem points for goods and services at any participating merchant or choose to convert them into stocks.
So what if I already have stocks?
That's even better. Yeah. It means that you are pre-enrolled on the program. You only need to download the app and activate. Start your portfolio, grow your portfolio, join our loyalty program, and earn, save, or invest. The Jamaica Stock Exchange, where loyalty builds financial performance.
It's back to school time, and Access Financial Services is making it easier for you to get full marks. Whether it's for school supplies, uniforms, or tuition fees, we've got you covered with loans up to $3 million. Enjoy reduced interest rates, and here's the best part, no guarantor needed. So get ready to tackle the new school year with confidence with a back to school loan from Access Financial Services. Get the financial boost you need to succeed. Apply at www.accessfinanceonline.com or call 929-9253. Conditions apply.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Well-known local security expert Jason Mackay has told Nationwide Sports that he has been cleared by the courts to contest the annual general meeting and voting congress of the St. Catherine Football Association scheduled for this weekend. Mackay was initially down to face the incumbent Elaine Walker-Brown for the presidency on July 28, but the courts intervened after Royal Lakes FC, which plays in the St. Catherine Major League, applied for an injunction to halt the process on the basis that the association was in breach of several constitutions. A meeting was held to iron out the matters, which included the General Secretary's report, financial statements, and auditor's report, alongside the notice for the special general meeting. The SCFA also conceded in their document filed before the court that they failed to circulate the list of candidates for the elections as required by their constitution. Mackay, who says he was being barred initially because the FA told him he was not verified, told Nationwide Sports today that he's happy the way has now been cleared for him to contest the elections, and he's predicting a landslide.
I'm really looking forward. I'm expecting to win by a landslide. I haven't seen what tricks they have up their sleeve with the delegates list yet, but there's steps in place if they do try anything with that, then we'll have to find a remedy. But as long as it's a clean and fair election, we should get 75% of the votes easily.
Mackay also accused the current administration of trying unsuccessfully to eliminate a number of registered voters from the process, but he says they have been warned by the courts against the practice.
The Constitution says any bona fide member can vote in the election. In their nomination documentation, they restricted nomination to executive members, and that is against the rules of the Constitution. So if anybody has nominated bona fide members that are not executive, and they remove them off of the list, that would mean that they're operating ultra-virus to the Constitution.
Jason Mackay, presidential candidate for the St. Catherine Football Association president. 92 delegates are expected to elect the new St. Catherine FA president on Sunday's election, and it's scheduled for Cohen's Ballroom on Old Harbour Road. Congratulatory messages continue to come in for Manchester City and Jamaica striker Khadija Bunny Shaw after she was voted Professional Football Association's Women's Player of the Year in England. In a release, President of the JFF, Michael Ricketts, says they were overjoyed that Shaw continues to claim these prestigious awards. Ricketts says the award speaks to her class and consistency at the top level of football. From the resultant accolades, put Jamaica's women's football in the headlines regularly, and for that they say they're cannot repay her. Opposition spokesperson on sports, Waverl Hines, says, quote, "This is a proud moment for Jamaica and for women's football. Khadija Shaw has proven herself to be one of the best footballers in the world. And Kasafa in their release said Bunny's remarkable accomplishment on the field have made her a standout player and a shining star in the women's football world. Delegates are expected to return to the polls later this year to decide who will run the affairs of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association J3As for the next 4 years. Garth Gale is the current president after defeating sprinting great Don Quarry 236-28 at the association's annual general meeting on November 28, 2020. No one has so far indicated a desire to challenge Gale for the top post. However, speaking on Sportsmax, head coach of Racers Track Club Glenn Mills says despite recent blunders by the current administration, it would be difficult for a challenger to be successful.
I don't think there'll be any significant change, if any, because voting in most associations, and the J3 is no exception, is the membership arm and who controls people who are eligible for voting. The members of the association is not public knowledge because there's no document or site that you can go on and see who are the members of the association. So if you were interested in running, who are you going to campaign to? Only the current executive or director would probably know who's qualified to vote.
In April, Nationwide Sports reported that Adidas proposed to pump over $5.7 billion over 8 years into the country's track and field programs. Mill says that kind of money would make a significant difference in funding the association's programs.
One of the things that struck me is the money that is there for facilities development. And over the 4-year period, that's enough money to put down at least 3 or 4 tracks of synthetic tracks in central and east and western Jamaica. Something that I think that the schools of Edwin Allen and those schools in that area would significantly benefit from. It would allow you to have your relay squad, as I pointed out.
And Mills says his comments are not colored by his association with Adidas.
Adidas sponsor our club, but I'm dealing strictly with the figures, and based on what the association have been saying that they don't have funds and the things that they need to do, that they are restricted because of funds, then obviously it is not the amount of money that is available to them could not be in the region of what their offer is.
That's head honcho at Racers Track Club, Glenn Mills. That's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Can you imagine getting a marketable skill for free? Your government has made it possible for anyone wanting to learn a skill to get free training through the Heart and STA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons.
The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:32.
The government of Jamaica has purchased brand new state-of-the-art buses to further enhance commuter experience, reduce wait times, comfortable seats, cool AC, and a smoother ride. Travel with the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport as they build a modern world-class transportation system to serve Jamaica even better. Join the new revolution in media, Nationwide 90 FM, for a live broadcast on Tuesday, August 27, 2024 at JUTC Portmore, hosted by the CliffViews online team. They will explore how the future of public transportation in Jamaica has evolved, bringing you more fuel-efficient, state-of-the-art buses with clean energy, making the investments for greater comfort during your daily commute while being able to track your buses in real time. That's a live broadcast of the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport's upcoming handover ceremony for the new 100 CNG buses on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is sponsored by the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Bulletins After Dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins After Dark.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Attention all data protection enthusiasts. Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM every Tuesday at 8:20 a.m. and Thursday at 8:25 a.m. for a new program, Data Protection Matters. Starting June 4, 2024, join us as we delve into crucial topics that will keep you informed and compliant. Data Protection Matters is hosted by Chuck Cameron, founder of Design Privacy, your trusted partner in data protection. Don't miss out. That's every Tuesday morning at 8:20 and every Thursday at 8:25 a.m. Stay protected, stay informed with Nationwide 90 FM and Design Privacy.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
The Energy Minister Daryl Vaz says JPS Chief Financial Officer Vernon Douglas should face sanctions for failing to follow protocol when writing to the Finance Ministry requesting a waiver of the taxes on automotive diesel fuel or the application of the concessionary rate.
Mr. Douglas wrote to the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, on July 1, 2024. In that letter, Mr. Douglas requested that the ministry either approve a waiver of the special consumption tax, SCT, on automotive diesel oil needed to generate electricity or apply the concessionary rate of $4.56 for the month of July.
In addressing a media briefing at the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica in New Kingston on Wednesday, Minister Vaz suggested that Mr. Douglas's actions were out of line.
I find it very curious that the letter was written on July 1st, addressed to the Honorable Nigel Clark, and it was under the signature of a Mr. Vernon Douglas, the Chief Financial Officer, and it is neither copied to his president, it is neither copied to his board, it is neither copied to the OUR, it is neither copied to the permanent secretary, or it is neither copied to the minister with responsibility for all. So the only thing that I can think is that Mr. Douglas is in charge of all of us. That's the only conclusion. For him to be able to write a letter like this as a CFO to the Minister of Finance without any copies to the relevant stakeholders, which includes a minister, includes his president, includes his board, who I can categorically state did not, my 3 members, attended no board meeting and were not contacted. And they were not contacted on the estimated bills either. So JPS will have to deal with this. This is not in my scope. But the bottom line is I do find it very, very curious. And I think that answers and sanctions are deserved.
That's Daryl Vaz, Energy Minister. Meanwhile, Minister Vaz says the fuel charge applied to customers' light bill for the July to August billing cycle should only have been increased by 6%. This compared to the 30% charge applied by the JPS. The Minister is maintaining that there are discrepancies in JPS's calculations. He joins us now to discuss further. Good afternoon, Minister Vaz.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon to the listeners and most importantly, the JPS customers.
Minister Vaz, just first from me, I am wondering, are you suggesting that Mr. Douglas was on a frolic of his own when he sent that letter to the Minister of Finance?
I can't answer that definitively. I can only point to the facts, which is that the estimated bills that had to be retracted a few weeks ago went out. in the same manner. And obviously, once again, this has happened and the relevant stakeholders have not been notified. I don't know the internal workings of the and structure of the JPS, but surely something as critical as this in a disaster, both the estimated bills and the, onerous bills that went out, would have had to have some kind of stakeholder consultation, but it seems that it's not necessary. So let's wait and see what happens on that. As I said before in the press conference this morning, that's outside of my scope. I know what I would do, but let's see what happens.
How did you come by, Minister, the calculation that the increase should really have been 6% and not 30%?
So I had my internal people at the ministry work on this seriously and seek the assistance of outside agencies that are very familiar with the pricing of oil. And don't forget that the Petrojam falls under me as well. So I would have quite a bit of experience surrounding me and technical assistance. But as you know, the truth of the matter, the JPS has asked until Friday, based on a meeting I had last night with the Prime Minister and the President, to have some discussions with the OUR and to have some internal discussions. And I'm prepared to allow that time and look forward to waiting on the outcome on Friday. As I said at the press conference today, I suggested strongly that they recalibrate and recalculate, but something is awry. Something is the level of increases that people are seeing in their bills are staggering. I mean, the amount of bills that I've seen today, it just doesn't. It's not just one straight percentage. It's all different percentages, up to 100% increase.
And if you are correct, that this charge, the fuel charge, should have been 6% and not 30%, wouldn't that mean that the OUR, the leadership of the OUR, would have to go?
I spoke extensively on that today at the press conference, and I did indicate that in terms of my forcefulness, I don't want it to be deemed or seen that I am on the warpath for every employee of the OUR or the JPS, because in fairness, the JPS line workers have been working assiduously and going beyond the call of duty. But as you know, the buck stops with management. And the fact is that if you look and rehash the happenings from Beryl hit till now, then obviously there is definitively a dissatisfaction by me at the management and the handling of the disaster by both the OUR and the JPS. And I put a caveat because the new JPS president came in on the 1st of August. So he came in and inherited what was happening, and he has made great strides. And our communications are strong and good, and I want to give him the opportunity to prove himself. He will know what he has to do in order to make sure that he shines and doesn't sink. But yes, the bottom line is that the OUR, as you know, does not fall under me. It reports to the Cabinet Office. It has a board of commissioners. And I'm sure that the Board of Commissioners will take a look into what has transpired. And as I said, the special audit that is going to take place, we'll look at all of those things because there's no way that Jamaica and the customers and any minister should find himself in a situation like this. Again, going forward with what's happening with climate change, it has been a torturous experience for me.
And
the only word to use are torturous, despite the fact that I have water and light and generator and whatever I need, just to think and see what I've seen over the last few months with the suffering is just devastating.
All right, hold it there for us. You're up on the break. Speaking to the Energy Minister, Daryl Vaz. Soon come.
Don't compromise on water storage. Choose Rhino water tanks, Jamaica's topic for over 25 years. Built strong. Purchase a water harvester for an additional water supply. Rhino water tank, Jamaica's choice.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. Our guest this afternoon is the Energy Minister, Daryl Vaz. Now, Minister, before the break, you mentioned that, obviously you're not on a warpath with the general staff of the OUR or the JPS. But I wondered, when you recognize this discrepancy, you say informed by outside experts, also by Petrojam, did you seek a response from the OUR as to why they would have simply, it appears, just gone ahead and approved it?
I have written a letter today, this morning, which I have circulated in the media, to Mr. Grant, the President and CEO, where I have raised 8 questions that I have asked, which is going to allow me to even do a further deep dive. And one of those questions is whether or not the OUR signed off on this massive 31% increase. And that is something that it will guide me in terms of my next set of utterances.
So you haven't queried it specifically with the OUR?
No, I've copied this letter to the OUR.
Okay.
But I just want to touch on 2 other things that I think is very important for the customers and the public at large. I got a letter from the chairman and then acting president of the JPS on July 18th, requesting that the force majeure clause be implemented for relief due to Hurricane Beryl pursuant to the Electricity License 2016. And basically what that does is to ask for the minister's approval for condition 11.2 on application to the minister which has been granted, the license shall be excused from any non-compliance with this license caused by force majeure. So they wrote that letter basically asking to be excused from the terms of the license because of the disaster. Well, to date I have not signed it. And I have referred it to the OUR and I have referred it to the Attorney General's chambers. Because whereas the Act allows for it, what I see in this is everything to help the JPS and nothing to help the customers, which has been my plea and my cry since Beryl. Secondly, we have the Electricity Disaster Fund, which is a 47-page document which was promulgated in September 2007, 17 years ago, which basically allows for the JPS to draw down funds from the disaster fund to be able to recover their expenses during a disaster. Once again, I have looked through this document and I have sought advice, and there is nothing in the $50 million US dollars that is currently in the fund that allows for the customers of the JPS who pay every month towards this fund. So this $50 million doesn't come from government. It comes from a portion of the bill of every JPS customer every month. And there is nothing in it that I can say to the JPS or to the OUR. Can we use some of these funds to cushion some of the blows that customers have received from the hurricane, the disaster? Whether it is to offset in a situation like what we are now, where there's been a massive hike, to see whether or not some funds could be used to cushion the impact, whether it is 6% or 31%. And the fact is, there's nothing. So the fact is that all of this has to be reviewed, because right now there's no equity in relation to what obtains in the license and what obtains in the disaster fund and what obtains in terms of the regulator having the ability to be able to work with the JPS to help the suffering customers of the JPS. So I find that, unfathomable to know that people are paying every month towards a disaster fund that only the monopoly can benefit from.
But certainly, Minister, on that front, the ball is in your court, and I assume you're speaking to that same committee you said that the government would be setting up to look at how the JPS and its legislation is being governed.
The audit and review, the special audit and review, which the Prime Minister has indicated to me that he is supportive of it, and I'll be going to Cabinet to have a further discussion, is going to have not only a situation where we're looking specifically into the JPS bill cycle for this month. Well, that is a big part of it, and obviously other previous bills outside of Beryl. But the fact is that we have to get back to a situation where there is equity and that the customers of the JPS are suitably protected, as is the case now with the JPS, which is the monopoly. Yes? So there's a lot of work to be done, because the fact of the matter is that how it is established now is definitively unacceptable to me as minister and unacceptable to the government that I represent. I'm not going to point fingers and politicize who did what, when, where, or why. That's history. I am the man on the bridge now, and it is within my scope to make sure that the next minister that faces a disaster doesn't have to go through the frustration that I have gone through because of the fact that the regulations and the legislation are in need of an overhaul.
On that point, go ahead, Javon. The Gleaner's editorial this morning accuses you of political theatre. Yeah, and essentially suggests that you should exit this whole controversy and allow the OUR and the regulatory agencies to do their jobs.
Well, if the OUR had been as aggressive as me, then I wouldn't have to be doing what I'm doing. The OUR's position, as stated in a letter to me and stated publicly at the post-cabinet, is that they are waiting till all of this blows over, everybody is restored, and they're going to do a post-mortem. And when they finish the post-mortem, they will make recommendations and they will impose sanctions if needed. As far as I'm concerned, the only post-mortem that I know about is when you are dead. And at this point, we're not waiting to die. We want to make sure that we are proactive and do what we need to do to protect the citizens and the JPS. So their philosophy and my philosophy is completely different. And the fact of the matter is, they have been very cautious, and they are cautious because they have stated that they don't want to do anything prejudicial because they are the regulator. But then if they are going to be cautious and JPS is going to miss deadline after deadline after deadline and there's no sanctions and they remain quiet and the only person that is speaking is the government through the minister, who has all the bark but no bite, legislatively and regulatory, and then we have a problem. There's a systemic problem, and that is what we need to fix. First of all, I must tell you that I have no issue with the OUR being an independent regulator and arm's length from government. But the bottom line is, once a disaster hits, the people of Jamaica are depending on the government that they've elected to step up to the plate and to make sure and give them the recovery in the fastest possible time. And as it stands now, this whole process to me has been, we have not transitioned from normalcy to disaster. Not in the recovery and not in anything else.
So you don't accept the argument that you're just grandstanding?
Well, what I can say, I don't know who wrote that editorial. I suspect I have an idea. But they are fine because guess what? They live in Upper St. Andrew. They have light, they have water, they have everything that I have, right? And they didn't go in the car or in the helicopter and go and witness what I witnessed between Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth, and see the level of suffering. So guess what? Guess what? They can continue to write, and I will continue to represent the people and all the people, because I have not politicized this thing one iota. I have made sure to stay above it, because at this point, a disaster is a disaster. And when the disaster was coming and Beryl was coming, Beryl never asked which house was Labour right or PNP. It wiped out everybody, right? So the fact of the matter is, I take the editorial with a grain of salt, and especially the media house that it comes from. I mean, I don't read those things anymore, to be honest with you. I just focus and do my work.
And I'm happy that Mr. Brooks took it there, Minister, because I believe we were of the same mind. I was going to ask you the exact same question. But are you comfortable or assured that you've stayed on your side of the line, so to speak, in this matter regarding the OUR and JPS?
I have stayed as close to the line as possible. And if I went over the line a bit, then it was totally justified. And it was justified because I was not seeing the action that I thought that was necessary. I have given all the time, and I have given everybody enough time to act. And the bottom line is, we called the OUR to Cabinet. Cabinet instructed, they were silent before. Cabinet instructed that they go to post-cab. They came to post-cab. They said what they said, which when you listen to what they said, at the end of it, you can decide whether or not it was meaningful. And then they went back to silence. So the fact is, I just ask you to just step back 1 minute and tell me whether or not, as a regulator, you, Ricardo, or any listener that is listening to this program now, is satisfied with the oversight and the intervention of the OUR during this process. And my father always taught me to thine own self be true. So if you follow that, you will find the right answer.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Minister. Appreciate it.
And we have 3,500 suffering Jamaican JPS customers as we speak this morning. JPS has confirmed that they will get everybody back up on the 31st, and I just look forward and hope that I could wake up tomorrow morning, it was the 31st of August, because I cannot imagine the suffering for 6 to 8 weeks after a hurricane with no light. Yes? So I just remind everybody that there are still people that are using Peony Wally to guide them through the night in their house. Yes?
Thank you, Minister.
God bless you all.
You know, Siobhan, I read the editorial, and frankly, I think it's an outrageous editorial. I read it twice, actually, because I wanted to be sure that I was understanding the essence of what the editorial board at the Gleaner was suggesting. And I keep saying there is a culture of deference in this country to some institutions, organizations, agencies. And oftentimes it appears to me that that deference is extended even at the expense of the Jamaican people.
Yes.
And I had to ask the minister, because I frankly found the editorial outrageous. And it cannot be that in a situation like this, and I'm happy that he reminded us of the fact that people are really suffering and have been suffering. And we're an agency that has the regulatory oversight. By the way, that doesn't have to face the electorate, doesn't have to answer anybody, because we here have been trying to get the OUR to answer us. And more often than not, we're met with silence. Yeah? It's just incredible that you would suggest that the portfolio minister should also be deferential when the people he has to face and the parliamentarians and the cabinet ministers have to face are suffering. I find that absolutely incredible.
But the minister hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, for many people in media who are isolated and insulated, so to speak, from the suffering that a lot of Jamaicans must go through, who but the minister in charge of energy should advocate for the Jamaican people and for them to be better treated. Who but the minister?
Yeah, I found the piece quite shameful. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Minister of Energy Daryl Vaz has described as incorrect the fuel charge applied by the Light and Power Company, Jamaica Public Service Company JPS, to the July to August bills of customers.
Our in-house calculations have revealed that there are discrepancies with the calculations being represented in the several JPS bills. Our worst-case scenario calculations suggest that a 6% increase in electricity bills would be expected. This is not represented in the bills that are being issued to customers.
The figures provided by the minister suggest that instead of adding $7.84 to the fuel charge, the JPS should have added only $1.46. The minister is also questioning why the Office of Utilities Regulation OUR did not query the fuel rate that the JPS provided to it for approval.
Given that this 32% increase in the fuel rate was unprecedented, it raised concerns for me as minister as to why the OUR did not investigate the cause for such an anomaly in the fuel rate provided by JPS, bearing in mind that no information has been provided to suggest that JPS had to operate using ADO for fuel for a prolonged period of time, given that the supply was disrupted for 5 days, and that based on communications from JPS, only one plant would have been utilizing ADO for the period of disruption. These are questions that must be addressed and factors that raise great concern for me as minister and for the government and, of course, all well-thinking Jamaicans.
Meanwhile, Minister Vaz says the JPS has extended its suspension of disconnection for the non-payment of electricity bills from August 15 to September 15.
JPS has suspended disconnections for the non-payment of bills just before the Hurricane Beryl impacted the island on July 3rd. In recognition of the challenges faced by many after the hurricane and the higher bills now being seen, JPS has extended the disconnection process from August 15th to September 15th. So it means that there will be no disconnections until September 15th, which is commendable based on the suffering of so many people, even those who have gotten back light and just simply can't pay the bills because they have been damaged so badly and their livelihoods have been affected.
He also announced that JPS will be cancelling estimated bills sent to customers that have been without supply. These bills will be replaced with ones that show zero consumption of electricity.
JPS will continue to facilitate flexible payment plans for persons who need more time to pay. Requests are being dealt with on a case-by-case basis, and customers can make requests for payment plans. The third bit of good news is zero consumption for customers out of supply. While the JPS has a regulatory requirement to ensure customers are billed in a timely manner, it appreciates the frustration and experience by customers without supply who have received bills for the period that they are out. In cases where estimated bills were sent out to persons who had no supply, JPS will cancel these bills and generate new bills representing zero consumption and therefore $0 owed for those bills. And there are several of them out there.
Darrell Vaz, Energy Minister. The police have laid murder and gun charges against 2 men in relation to last Sunday's massacre of 8 people in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon. They are Leighton White, otherwise called Bands, and Deshane Smalling, otherwise called Snowman. They've been charged with 8 counts of murder. The pair are also facing charges of wounding with intent, 8 counts of wounding with a firearm, possession of a prohibited weapon, and unauthorized possession of ammunition. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the shooting of 8 people, one fatally, at a wake in Point Hill, St. Catherine on Wednesday was the result of an internal gang conflict.
Very unfortunate incident, and again it raises the sensitivity of the community given what has happened recently, and police response is what will in fact give reassurance to the community, and they certainly have done major work since morning. They've apprehended and identified several of the individuals. There are 2 there particularly. I think they have 1 out of the 2. This was appeared to have an internal gang operation. In this case, although St. Catherine, they were calling over sharing of scamming money. And the individuals identified going to this big wake, which is, as many are aware now, so I can call name. It was Chris Martin's grandmother. And when he was seen, 2 of the members were upset with him, went after him.
The police say the incident occurred around 12:25 in the morning. Attendees reported seeing 2 men with firearms shortly before explosions were heard. Dr. Chang is encouraging the public to keep the police informed when hosting large gatherings.
At times, the police have intelligence that would indicate to them that the level of policing needed to protect people at a gathering is too heavy and therefore it should not be held. That's really when the police refuse a permit. Otherwise, they will in fact take steps to deploy policemen in the area and sometimes to work with their promoters to ensure that they have adequate policing in that situation. We know that activities of this sort is a part of our culture. We have no interest, the police have no interest in disrupting our cultural practices. Someone like Chris Martin's statue going to a community is going to draw a crowd beside his grandmother. So please, when activities are coming up, inform the police. What we want is to have them conducted safely.
Dr. Horace Chang, National Security Minister. The Hanover police have seized approximately 2 kilograms of cocaine during an operation on Wharf Road, Orange Bay, Hanover on Tuesday. Reports are that about midday, lawmen were in the area when an abandoned building was searched. 1 plastic barrel was found containing 2 packages of the cocaine. No one was arrested in relation to the seizure. The illicit drug has an estimated street value of $3 million. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
It's an exciting time for real estate developers and investors as the Greater Bernard Lodge divestment enters phase 4 of its divestment process. Offering residential townhouse lots for sale. Over 22.8 acres of dedicated townhouse blocks will be offered in a competitive divestment process. Visit bernardlodgeja.com for more info or give us a call at 876-929-4000. Be a part of the new and promising township by investing in Greater Bernard Lodge. Bids open in August 2024.
The University of the Commonwealth Caribbean Recruitment Roadshow. Fast and easy registration. Informative sessions. One-on-one guidance. Join us on August 14, Ocho Rios. August 15, Maypen. August 16, Mandeville. August 21, Negril. August 22, Montego Bay. And our last stop, August 23, Halfway Tree. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. each stop. UCC Recruitment Roadshow. Empower your dreams. Register today. UCC. Fostering leadership and innovation.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. Now, well-known local security expert Jason Mackay has been cleared by the courts to contest the annual general meeting and voting congress of the St. Catherine Football Association scheduled for this weekend. Mackay was initially down to face the incumbent Elaine Walker-Brown for the presidency on July 28, but the courts intervened after Royal Lakes FC, which plays in the St. Catherine Major League, applied for an injunction to halt the process on the basis that the association was in breach of several rules in the Constitution. A meeting was held to iron out the matters, which included the General Secretary's report, financial statements, and auditor's report, alongside the notice for the special general meeting. The SCFA also conceded in their documents filed and before the court that they failed to circulate the list of candidates for the elections as required by their constitution. Mackay told Nationwide Sports Today that he is happy the way has now been cleared for him to contest the elections, and he is predicting a landslide.
I'm really looking forward. I'm expecting to win by a landslide. I haven't seen what tricks they have up their sleeve with the delegates list yet, but there's steps in place if they do try anything with that, then we'll have to find a remedy. But as long as it's a clean and fair election, we should get 75% of the votes easily.
Mackay also mentioned that the current administration tried unsuccessfully to eliminate a number of registered voters from the process, but says they have been warned by the courts against the practice.
The Constitution says any bona fide member can vote in the election. In their nomination documentation, they restricted nomination to executive members, and that is against the rules of the Constitution. So if anybody has nominated bona fide members but are not executive, and they remove them off of the list, that would mean that they're operating ultra-virus to the Constitution.
Jason Mackay. 92 delegates are expected to select the next St. Catherine FA president at Sunday's election, scheduled for Cowan's Ballroom on Old Harbour Road. Young Boys beat Galatasaray 3-2 in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League playoff round in Switzerland today. The return match, which will determine the team that will qualify for the UEFA Champions League, which with its new format consisting of 36 teams, will be played in Istanbul on August 27. In other results, Sparta Prague beat Malmo 2-0 and Salzburg defeated Dynamo Kiev 2-0. Now to athletics, as delegates are expected to return to the polls later this year to decide who will run the affairs of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association J3As for the next 4 years. Garth Gale is the current president after defeating sprinting great Donald Quarry 236-28 at the association's annual general meeting on November 28, 2020. No one has so far indicated a desire to challenge Gale for the top job. However, speaking on Sportsmax, head coach of Racers Track Club Glenn Mills says despite recent blunders by the current administration, it would be difficult for a challenger to be successful.
I don't think there'll be any significant change, if any, because voting in most associations, and the JHA is no exception, is the membership arm and who controls people who are eligible for voting. The members of the association is not public knowledge because there's no document or site that you can go on and see who are the members of the association. So if you were interested in running, who are you going to campaign to? Only the current executive or director would probably know who's qualified to vote.
In April, Nationwide Sports reported that Adidas proposed to pump over $5.7 billion over 8 years into the country's track and field program. Mill says that kind of money would make a significant difference in funding the association's programs.
One of the things that struck me is the money that is there for facilities development. And over the 4-year period, that's enough money to put down at least 3 or 4 tracks of synthetic tracks in central and western Jamaica. Something that I think that the schools of Edwin Allen and those schools in that area would significantly benefit from. It would allow you to have your relay squad, as I pointed out.
Mill says his comments are not colored by his association with Adidas.
Adidas sponsor our club, but I'm dealing strictly with the figures, and based on what the association have been saying that they don't have funds and the things that they need to do, that they are restricted because of funds, then obviously it is not the amount of money that is available to them could not be in the region of what their offer is.
Glenn Mills. Now, Paris Olympic bronze medalist Rashid Broadbell is among 14 Jamaicans down to compete at the Wonder Diamond League meeting in Lausanne on Thursday. Broadbell will renew rivalry with the two people who beat him at the Paris Olympic Games, the American pair of Grant Holloway and Daniel Roberts, in the 110 meters hurdles. Broadbell will also get strong competition from fellow Jamaican Hansel Parchment. The other Jamaicans down to compete are Tia Clayton, Natoya Gould-Toppin, Daniel Thomas Dodd, Lamar Distin, Wayne Pinnock, Kieran McLeod, Tajay Gale, Genevieve Russell, Rochelle Clayton, and Anjanette Knight. Now on to cricket, as fast bowler Jaden Seals is the highest ranked West Indies Test bowler according to the latest ICC rankings. Seals moved up 13 places to a career best 13th position after taking 12 wickets in the two-test series against South Africa. Kamara Roach is the next best at 18th position despite dropping one place. Jason Holder moved down one place to 29th. Shamar Joseph is the next best mover at 54 after going up 11 places. India's Ravichandran Ashwin is the number one bowler, with Josh Hazlewood of Australia second and Jasprit Bumrah of India third. And finally, coach of the West Indies Darren Sammy says they are not out for revenge when they take on South Africa in a 3-match T20 series at the Brian Lara Stadium in Trinidad and Tobago from August 23 to 27. The Windies were knocked out of the 2024 ICC T20 World Cup by South Africa at the quarter-final stage. Sammy says facing a strong South African team is an excellent opportunity for our team to reset and refocus with our game plan.
I wouldn't call it revenge, but it's a great opportunity for us to regroup, refocus. It's the first competitive international game for us since that quarterfinal, if you call it so, in the World Cup. And one that, we want to start fine-tuning ourselves. We have a next World Cup to prepare for. As disappointing as it was coming out of being knocked out of the World Cup, but understanding what we had accomplished as a team during the last 12 to 14 months. It's a continuation of that and fine-tuning ourselves.
Sammy says he wants the Caribbean team to become a championships winning side.
We need to find ways to continuously evolve and improve. And when I review, I spoke to the director, I want to become a championship winning team. Right now, we are a series winning team. We play one team over a 3 or 5 game period, and we know, what to do. But I want this team to become a championship winning team where you could find and play a different opposition in a tournament and be able to come up with the goods every single game. So that's where the focus of this team moving into another World Cup preparing year. That's what we focus on.
Darren Sammy, I'm Alex Swiby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:18.
For hard-to-get medications, over-the-counter and chemotherapy drugs, visit Dean's Pharmacy Papine. When others don't have it, we do. Dean's Pharmacy. Feeling better starts right here.
The temperature by Dean's Pharmacy, feeling better, starts right here is
29 degrees Celsius in City Kingston and 31 in Montego Bay.
Live exquisite this year with new arrival black and chrome fixtures for your home at Unique Living. Select from a wide variety of rain shower systems, fabulous faucets, and stylish sinks to suit your kitchen and bathrooms. Get uncompromised quality and style unique to you. Shop everything new at Unique Living, Jamaica's leading shower and faucets provider. Visit shop number 630 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call 876-755-3661-2.
On Sunday, August 11th, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy and several women.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators who committed this heinous act.
The facilitators who supplied them with arms, intelligence and transportation.
Those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, say something.
Call Crime Stop at 311, MOCA at 888-6622-847,
NIB at 811 or the JDF at 837-8888.
Together, we will defeat the gangs and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. It's midweek. Yep, we've reached midweek. It's Wednesday, August 21. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. We invite you to weigh in live in the comments section on today's Public Opinion. So, we're talking about CXC, CSEC, and mathematics. Yep, that subject, continues to be a weak subject for students. This following the release of results of the 2024 May-June CXC examinations. Get this, only 36% of students who wrote the paper achieved a passing grade. This year's sitting of CSEC saw a 69% passing rate overall. CXC's Director of Operations, Dr. Nicole Manning, says in light of these results, the Council will implement strategies next year in an attempt to boost the numbers.
As we look at the grades, the grade ones, you see that increase in the number. We are seeing that improvement there. So in some cases, you're going to find that in some territories, you will find an improvement, of course, and in some territories, it would not have been looking so wonderful. However, overall, we need to get out of this rut. So we already thought of some new strategies that we're expecting to push out next year to see how regionally we can assist and move with the region in making sure that we see some improvement. Now,
all right, so that was Dr. Nicole Manning, CXC's Director of Operations. In Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, on a scale of 1, or that should be, what can be done to improve maths passes at the CSEC level? What can be done to improve maths passes at the CSEC level? Let me see if I can get to the comments on social media. I'll start on Facebook, where Bad English is saying, even God himself taught CXC mathematics. Some students still don't pass. The focus of many students is on TikTok, social media, particularly TikTok, rather than on practicing and putting in the necessary work. He is saying that the reality is that you can't pass exams without consistent effort and practice. No matter how skilled the teacher, students have to take personal responsibility for their learning and dedicate time to mastering the material. And I believe that goes for saying, it has to be across the board, practicing and studying entirely in every subject area. Philip Kidd says, stop send slow primary students to high school. Let 10-year-olds who are willing and capable sit PEP so that weaker students can get 2 or 3 chances to pass with a mark of about 75%. Philip Jackson says children must be children and everything else behind. Books, study your and everything else behind. Study your books. The good Bible says study to show thyself approved. A work man rightly diving the word book. Okay, so you're saying book. Study on a book. Winston says simple. Away with incompetence and place competent and qualified math teachers in the classroom. Let me see if I can get in. Natalie Winter here saying, have more caring and understanding teachers who can impart the knowledge of the subject, and they must be willing to see to it that the students succeed. Shelley Ann Small says, teach in a more simply and easier way. Christopher Isaacs saying, have smaller math classes. 20-1 should be the max for teacher-student ratio, and applied math should be taught from the outset. And Eunice Anderson says, make it more simple. I mean, my teachers from primary school coming all the way up can attest to the fact that math was the weak subject for me, and I can say that no. I passed, yeah. However, it was a task. It was a task for me indeed. The question we're asking you this evening in our public opinion, what can be done to improve math passes at the CSEC level? On our X platform, All Alec is saying, we have to delve into the reality that students assimilate information in diverse ways. This necessitates an exploration of the various cognitive processes and learning styles that contribute to each student's unique method of understanding and retaining knowledge. And he's asking if I'm gone too far. No, you're kind of dip on the right track. Wealthy Kid says ban TikTok. Grace Davidson is saying teachers of mathematics must have a mathematics degree to teach the subject. Well, I think that would definitely be a requirement. Lance Thompson says be creative and form a math club. Make it fun. Incentives for teachers who get the students to improve. No Slickting is saying start from basic school or whichever before that. Javon Ramden, I believe children today are quite privileged with numerous resources like YouTube available for learning math. However, they often prioritize TikTok over educational content, which can hinder their academic progress. Well, so be the case. If you realize that TikTok is where they gravitate, you have to get creative. I feel as though you have to get creative and just work with the times. Go on TikTok, form a math club on TikTok. And this is just me speaking out loud. Form a math club on TikTok. Do something that you find something that engages the students, I would say. All right, back to the comments. Elon Muscadmar says, serious intervention. Children need to start from basic school, not primary school. Noel Jones is saying, pay teachers more or better incentives. And Herbert is saying we should set the exams easier. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. We're talking about the passes in CXC 2024 May-June, the examination, specifically math. Math continues to be a weak area for students, with only 36% of students who wrote the paper achieving a passing grade. And passing grade is is it still 1 to 3? Yeah? I believe so. All right. On our Instagram platform, Influence Dan is saying use 4 as a passed mark. The Only is saying get rid of algebra. Teach what is relevant coming from thought naturally. Let me see if I can get... J. Rax is saying change the syllabus or incorporate into real life problems. Wow, this one says throw away the whole subject. I don't think we can, and that not gonna happen. That will never happen, as a very famous man said. Such man Scorpion says remove it altogether. Well, let me see. TRVP says make it more easier. I don't know, but things continue to get hard on a daily basis. Unique Jamaican says math has SBA, so I don't know what else can be done. Listen, I was surprised that math had SBA. You know, like I feel like I did CXE when CXE was it needed the SBA. Maybe I would have had a better grade, I believe, if there was an SBA. But yeah, this comment here, math has SBA, so I don't know what else can be done. The rebel lady says, get teachers who love math teaching. Parents can also get their children interested in math by making numbers fun and start early. Payne saying use the math video, past paper and exam. We went through a whole lot of past papers because that's always the thing, to always do the past papers so we become privy to the outline, privy to what, the types of questions that may come on the paper. And the structure as it relates to how the questions will appear. We always were doing past papers. Let me see if I can get to the YouTubers. Jacqueline Armstrong is saying passes in math will improve if teachers use manipulatives to build conceptual knowledge, then gradually release them into strategies and formulas. And that's the thing, they keep on sticking to the old way of doing things. Maybe, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I don't know what is being done now in the schools, but yeah. David Nebar said, I never liked mathematics. Preaching to the choir here, David. Leslie Robinson says, popular culture and the distractions that come with it are largely responsible for this. Kirkland Nelson is saying, I am in agreement with the people who said TikTok and social media distraction. That is where the focus lies. Take away the device until improvement is seen. Do not lower the standard. Marlene P is saying primary schools have some teachers who hate maths, and it starts from there, It really starts from there. It has to be something that people would like to use creative ways and get creative. I can tell you for one, and I can use my experience, math for me, whenever it was math class for me, I put my head down on the table, I'm gone on my bed. I'm sorry. I'm just being, I'm just using my experience and what I did. And it was something, when I got my passes, the only thing I screamed out was that I passed math. Every other else thing I passing about math for me was something that I literally ball eye water. Cry eye water whenever I'm maths class. And if I don't cry, I literally go to sleep. And that's sad. I mean, we need to change the culture, the whole culture of math, how maths is taught in schools. Erica Barnett says, drill facts, know formulas, and apply them. Strong Link says, that past paper approach is bad. The students have to learn the fundamental concepts. Okay. Tam is saying, are they using computers to do their maths instead of try member all them while heap formula them drill? Okay, okay. All right. A lot of comments coming in on this one. Glaister Hall is saying maths is a very difficult subject and you should only get 10% and pass. I don't know. Kimmy says children must practice early and don't wait until exam time because practicing last minute won't work. I went through all the steps, the Saturday classes, the after school classes, every math class that keep me go. It was an experience. It was an experience for me, and I do sympathize with the students, especially those who are working and who are who went through all the steps to pass. Only, let me see if I can get in, only 36% of those who wrote the paper achieved a passing grade. Oh boy. But something has to be done, like the CEO Wayne Wesley and the CXC's Director of Operations, Dr. Nicole Manning, says the council will be implementing strategies next year in an attempt to boost the numbers, because the numbers really need boosting. Anytime you hear CXC results come out, you know that math and English may very well be somewhere down the line. Speaking about English, let me see if I can pull up the English rate. English language saw a little over 3/4 of students passing. 76% passed English language. And the figures show that this represented a slight 2 percentage point decline. Wow, compared to last year's sitting, a decline. English B, literature, was much better than English A, with 84% of students passing their exams. And English literature is reading and all, but, we welcome the passes and we hope that next year we can do much, much better in math and English, those two core subjects right there. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion this evening. We do have the business report up next. Stay tuned.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:35. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Motorists can expect to see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, August 22. That's tomorrow. And that's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. 90 octane will see a decrease of $3.06 per litre, so too will 87 octane. Automotive diesel fuel will see a slight decrease of 84 cents per litre, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will go down by 85 cents per litre. Kerosene decreased by $2.94 per litre. Propane liquid petroleum will go up slightly by 25 cents per litre, and butane liquid petroleum will see an increase of $1.76 per litre. The Labor Department says jobs growth in the U.S. appears to have been weaker than previously understood last year, an update that inflamed an already heated debate about the state of the U.S. economy. The Labor Department says its latest data suggested employers added about 818,000 fewer jobs than previously estimated over the 12 months prior to March. Now, the revision, which is preliminary, would reduce the total number of jobs created during that time by about 30% compared with previous estimates, which were the biggest such update since 2009. The new estimates suggest monthly job growth of about 174,000 instead of the roughly 240,000 previously understood. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 40 cents to buy $1 US, 207 Jamaican dollars and 17 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 116 Jamaican dollars and 73 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. And that's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Office Supplies Brokers Limited is having its grand back-to-school sale this Saturday, August 24 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Get unbeatable deals on all your school supplies. Seek exercise books at factory prices. Stock up and save big. Visit 26 Dunrobin Avenue or call 876-676-6930. Office Supplies Brokers Limited, your one-stop shop for all your back-to-school needs.
As a part of our efforts to increase accessibility to higher education, the Students' Loan Bureau no longer requires applicants to have guarantors. This applies to all SLB loan products. No guarantors, no catch. With SLB, you can make your dreams a reality. Visit our website at slbja.com and follow us on social media at Students' Loan Bureau to be in the loop. Apply today.
It is the 10th annual Good Samaritan 5K Health Run Walk. This year, our main beneficiaries are the children of the Community-Based Rehabilitation Jamaica, CBRJ. On Sunday, August the 25th at 6:30 a.m., we run, walk, and wheel to raise funds for children with disabilities. The GS 5K over the years has raised funds for various charitable organizations and assisted with community projects, health initiatives, and back-to-school support. For our 10th anniversary, we invite you to register for this 5K and give hope to the children with disabilities. To register, you can visit my.raceresult.com or scan the QR code. The GS 10th Anniversary 5K, Sunday, the 25th of August. Race starts at 6:30 a.m., warm up at 6 a.m. on the grounds of the Andrews Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church. The GS 5K, 10 years of helping. Help us, help more.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
Unicommer Jamaica presents Better You, a health and wellness initiative designed to empower a healthier workforce. Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, August 28, 2024, as we come to you live from Unicommer's Better You Health Fair and launch. Don't miss all the excitement and highlights as we learn more about how Unicommer invests in the health and well-being of its employees. Health checks, nutrition tips, exercise classes, free medicals for the kids, games, giveaways, and enough prizes. Don't miss Better You, promoting a healthier you to a better you. That's a live broadcast of Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on August 28, 2024. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Vantage One Group.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we are all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening. It's 6:43 and time for the Nation's Business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good evening, listeners. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Well, the Bank of Jamaica has reduced its policy rate for the first time in nearly 2 years. In its latest monetary policy decision, the BOJ has reduced the rate it provides to financial institutions by 25 basis points. The new rate is now 6.75% per annum, down from 7%.
Now, the new rate takes effect Wednesday, August 21. As we hear in this report from Siobhan Campbell, the move is in keeping with calls from several stakeholders to cut rates to drive economic growth in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl.
The last time the Bank of Jamaica's policy rate was adjusted was 20 months ago, November of 2022. The central bank has steadily increased its rates since October 2021 in response to rising inflation. This relatively high interest rate regime has come in for criticism as many fear it has negatively impacted the country's growth. The BOJ has now responded positively. It has reduced the rate it provides to financial institutions that keep deposits at the central bank from 7% down to 6.75% per annum. That's a reduction of 25 basis points. Accompanying its decision on Tuesday, the BOJ says it expects inflation to become more anchored in the bank's target range of 4 to 6%. Point-to-point inflation at the end of July was 5.1%. This represents the fifth consecutive month inflation fell within the central bank's target range. The BOJ noted that despite the effects of Hurricane Beryl, inflation is projected to largely remain within its target range over the next 2 years. Inflation is projected to temporarily rise from its current level and breach the upper end of the bank's target range over the next 3 to 5 months. However, it's anticipated it will return to the target range after the shock of Hurricane Beryl has passed. The central bank says current economic conditions generally support low, stable, and predictable inflation in the future. The BOJ expects the government and domestic fiscal policy will address the post-hurricane recovery efforts by utilizing existing savings and insurance and reprioritizing expenditures. Meanwhile, the Bank of Jamaica is hinting at further reductions in interest rates in the future. It says it will continue the gradual reduction of BOJ's absorption of liquidity from deposit-taking institutions through open market operations and preserve relative stability in the foreign exchange market. It says its actions so far have already resulted in an injection of $20.5 billion into the system. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News. Well, joining us to discuss further is economist Sandra Rodden and chartered accountant Dennis Chung. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, good evening.
Sandra?
Yes, I'm here hearing you.
Good evening, Sandra. Good evening, Dennis.
So, starting with you, Sandra, your reaction to the, I won't call it a major rate cut, but the reduction in the policy rate by 25 basis points, enough and too late, too soon?
Well, as it relates to too late, too soon, that's a very tricky question, and I want to start there because if you're going to look at it from an economic standpoint, you have to look at all the factors that are considered in making these decisions. So I can't really say, okay, it's too late or it's too soon. It might be the right time because a lot of these things are based on the calculations that you'd have to do to look at the different markets, to look at different market segments, and look at how the economy as a whole is affected. Number of things we would have seen is that the inflation targeting is basically working in this instance where we've seen consistent trends of it staying between the 4 to 6%, and when it moves outside, it rarely goes above a certain level, and that is something that I think we are appreciative of. Yes, the rates being changed at this time, they do have an effect, and I think people appreciate that effect. But the question is, will it really, affect the market in a major way now, noting the continuous concerns that we've had because we've gone from COVID to, crisis internationally as it relates to wars overseas, causing supply chain issues, and now we have Beryl. So Jamaica has been getting economic shock after economic shock after economic shock based on things that we can't control. So as I said, I don't know if we can really phrase it as too late, too soon. Yeah, maybe we can phrase it at the right time. I don't know.
I ask in that way, Sandra, because while we have the anticipation that the U.S. Federal Reserve is going to cut their own rates, usually we wait for them to do that first before we take action such as this due to the concerns about credit flight, etc. That's why I'm wondering, do you feel the Bank of Jamaica is making the right decision by going ahead of the U.S. Federal Reserve in terms of cutting their interest rates first?
Well, honestly, the following the U.S. Federal Reserve has been, I think, a good basis to go off, economically speaking, noting the hub of major financial institutions that are in the United States of America, and also how their rates affect other world rates. So I'm not sure if it's the perfect decision, but I'm sure the calculations from the economists, if I have not seen that, I can't really, dig deep into that and make a full analysis. But I will say that there may be other factors involved for them making the decision. And noting that there may be other factors involved, I get your question, but it's a bit tricky because normally we'd follow a certain modus operandi. But as I was stating, I think I didn't make it clear enough, but the economic shocks normally and the fact that we've stayed in our inflation targeting can lead to some decision making that does not necessarily follow the norm. So if we're looking off that, I think that their decision may be a good decision at this time. And if there are differences as it relates to the U.S. market, I think that our market will be fine.
Mm-hmm. And Dennis Chung, what immediate effects do you anticipate this will have? And talk to our listeners about what it will mean for them in particular.
Immediately, I don't expect it to have a great impact because what we want to see is the banks, passing on the rate reduction to customers. And that's the main issue. What happened is that when your interest rates go up, then mortgage rates start going up, car loan payments start going up, loans to businesses start going up, and what it does is reduces demand. And once you reduce the demand, because things are more expensive now, because you're borrowing money, then the spending slows down. I heard some information this afternoon, and Siobhan can correct me if I hear incorrectly, but the BOJ is projecting that the economy is going to decline to negative growth into 24-25. If that is the case, it suggests to me that could have been one of the impetuses behind the reduction. And maybe if they had seen those signs before, then I would have expected that you would have wanted to have done the rate reduction even before now. Because I always thought that, and Siobhan knows, I always said that I expected by the last quarter of this year that they would start the reduction because the economy, I think, would have started to feel it. And we needed to get some life back into the economy. But if we saw the signs before, then that 25 basis points reduction should have come before. One could argue that it could have been 50 instead of 25 based on that, because what we're trying to protect against is the economy falling too much. And I think they're projected a 1.5% decline for the fiscal year, which is pretty significant given the fact that we're always getting maybe about 1 to 2%.
But Dennis, you brought up a very valid concern, the pass-through to the general consumer. Do you think 25 basis points and then anticipating the lag that usually takes place between that rate being passed on to the commercial banks and then further on to the consumer, do you think 25 basis points is enough of an incentive to essentially get commercial banks to drop their own interest rates?
And if I could add to that, Dennis, how long a lag do you think it would be?
No, I don't think that is going to be enough of an incentive to move rates down right now. You could be talking about maybe 2 to 3 months before you start seeing it being passed down. Hopefully, the banks will do it before, but it's going to take some time because of the bureaucracy you have to go through, number one. But number two, the banks could be paying money on deposits that are tied up for maybe 30 days or so, or a little more. They obviously have to price based on that. So there's going to be an effect of, a lag effect of maybe about 3 months before. And that is why I'm saying that if you saw the signs before that the economy was weakening in that way so that you can project a 1.5% decline, then it means that the rate reduction might have been better off coming a little before it started before. And by now, you have gone down to a 50 or 75 basis points reduction. I understand the point that you're waiting on the Fed, but, you know, the fact is that the economy weakening too much is a huge problem. I think that what we should have done is be targeting some fiscal policies to address the inflationary concerns also on the foreign exchange, devaluation concerns. I think the BOJ is going to money market operations to address some of that. But certainly fiscal policy, I think, could significantly impact in terms of a reduction of the impact of inflation on the economy.
And Sandre, are you of the same mind that it might take some level of government intervention in terms of fiscal policy rather than monetary to drive growth back up?
Definitely, Siobhan, because when we're looking at this conversation about 25 basis points, and Dennis rightly said the projections that we hear that are coming out is that there will be some form of weakness of the economy. And as I was outlining earlier, the economic conditions have kept piling up on Jamaica, and they're external to us, and they keep piling up accordingly. When you consider 25 basis points, you really have to wonder what the economic conditions are as it relates to credit and lending. And if it's the case that we have a weakened economy, banks will be more cautious to lending. And that is something that has to be considered. So that does not necessarily create an environment whereby that 25 basis points move would be passed on swiftly to consumers or to customers who are looking to either borrow or to use the services of those institutions accordingly. So when you look at it, there needs to be a drive in particular areas of the economy, whether it is agriculture, technological innovation, whatever it is that can drive growth, or in entrepreneurship, which is somewhere I think Jamaica has really, even though we've tried and said that we're funding different things, I think there's way more we need to do as it relates to driving particular areas of business wherein we can actually see some form of fiscal policy focus on, say to the government, said, listen, these are the areas that we want to drive growth from. These are the priority areas for growth, and then pump the money into that and allow that to drive this boom that we want to see in the economy, or else we're going to be in this continuous cycle of figuring out, we've done monetary policy, but what are the fiscal policies in place? What are the drivers for economic growth? How do we move from 1% to 5%? Or are we going to continue talking about 5% for the rest of our lives? Those are the questions that we ask. So, as I said, the monetary policy, yes, it may be good, fine, but the problem is, will it really impact the economy? Noting the conditions of the economy right now and noting what we would expect it would do as it relates to coming down to the consumers as it relates to the reduction in interest rates in a general way.
And bringing me back onto that topic of the economy and its current status, I mean, the Bank of Jamaica is expecting a possible contraction, or at the most a 0.5% growth due to Hurricane Beryl. I'll wait to see what the PIOJ will say further in terms of their own projections. But at this point in time, is there a concern that these contractions could be sustained in the long term, or is this just a blip?
I think in the long term, I don't anticipate that it would be sustained, because we have been working assiduously to get our debt to GDP ratio down and investing a lot in capital projects. And capital projects normally, give a little boost to the economy, and that's something that the government has been focused on. But I know this is where others will agree with me, that when we have gone and done enough capital projects, what then? Because we don't have those particular areas that we can think of, there's tourism. Back in the day, we had bauxite, and now we have tourism. But what else? We've consistently said that we can see that rise in agriculture, etc. We have still stalled and getting to where we need to go in those key key areas. So I think for right now, the economic conditions would have caused or affected us in that way for us to see that type of contraction. Of course, we can bounce back and get back on track because we have certain things going for us, like a booming tourism industry and other things going. But if it is the case that we don't figure out more than just this continuous investment in capital, in infrastructure projects, public infrastructure projects, we have to figure out what are these major mechanisms for growth that we're going to use and target, and how it is we help the nation to get that drive, that this is what we need to do to go forward to build the economy, not just for those who are already wealthy and can invest in high-value businesses, but for the smaller man, the farmer that needs that type of investment, those who make arts and crafts and would be able to export that type of thing. We need to build those things, build or exporting aspects. Lots of people have advocated for this for years, but those are the things that are necessary to ensure that a contraction is not sustained.
And Dennis, just finally to you, I know the Bank of Jamaica has come under a lot of fire regarding this 7% interest rate that they've maintained for 20 months, going on almost 2 years now. And they have held to it gung-ho despite the criticisms coming from the private sector and the opposition. In hindsight, now that they are reducing it in response to a very significant shock, do you feel that they should have acted sooner, or at the very least they should not have held to that 7% rate for so long?
No, I think the 7% was necessary in order to control inflation, because if we did not do that, move to that rate initially, then inflation would have wiped out a lot of things and caused a lot of pain. I think what should have happened over that time is that fiscal policy should have been aligned with a rate reduction. In other words, use the fiscal policy more. But we've been very shy about using fiscal policy in this country over many decades and always relied on monetary. Given the information that we've seen in terms of the possible contraction, I think maybe the last quarter that was gone, the previous quarter, we should have started the reduction then. I mean, generally people would not have had that information, but they would have had that information. But I think that they might have not started to move because they're watching inflation and also the Feds, which might not have been the best thing to do, but that might have been what would have guided them. So certainly, if that happened, then what I would have done if I didn't do it last quarter is I would have maybe moved 50 basis points instead, because even if the banks don't put on a lot of new loans now, just passing through something to consumers, whether it's businesses or people with mortgages or so, that would create more disposable income for spending other places in the economy. So necessary, it was necessary in summary, but maybe they could have moved from last quarter by the 25 basis points.
That is Chartered Accountant Dennis Chung, and we also had with us Sandra Rodden, economist. Thank you, Rodden. Thank you. Thank you, both gentlemen. Thanks, you for your time.
All right. No problem. Have a good evening to you and your listeners.
More after this.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Donald Harris, a Jamaican legend. It is believed in some quarters that, with the possible exception of Israel, the Jamaican diaspora is the world's most committed to the country of their birth or ancestry. If true, this is good news, given the fact that an estimated 70% of Jamaicans with tertiary education, many of whom were educated at taxpayers' expense, live and work in rich industrialized countries. The loss of these skills at such an alarming rate can relegate a country like Jamaica to a state of perpetual underdevelopment that remittances cannot erase. These persons who left our shores for academic careers abroad but continue to ensure Jamaica benefits from their immense intellect and professional track record come to mind. Don Robotha, Gladstone Flooney Hutchinson, Orlando Patterson, and Don Harris. Among these, and the many others who continue to nourish their roots with the milk of their success, Don Harris stands out as a living legend. Professor Harris's climb from a family of modest means, from a nondescript village near Brownstown, St. Anne, to education at the University of the West Indies and postgraduate education in the United States, to lecturing at prestigious universities around the world, culminating with him being the first black person to be tenured at the highly accredited and acclaimed Stanford University in California, is the most improbable of success stories. It would have been no less so had his daughter, United States Vice President Kamala Harris, not carved out her own incredible journey in American politics. To his enduring legacy, Professor Harris authored the 169-page document, which is Jamaica's first national industrial policy, April 25, 1996. Titled A Strategic Plan for Growth and Development, the document charted the path forward for Jamaica to move from average gross domestic product GDP growth of slightly less than 1% annually, 1975 to 1994, to 5% per annum to double per capita income to US $4,000 by 2010. The National Industrial Policy, NIP, identified 5 sectors or clusters as integral elements of the national effort to promote growth and development of the Jamaican economy. Cluster 1, tourism, entertainment, sports. Cluster 2, shipping and berthing, telecommunications, information technology. Cluster 3, agro-processing, fresh produce, natural fibers, horticulture, marine products. Cluster 4, apparel, other light manufacturing. Cluster 5, minerals, caustic soda, chemicals, ceramics. Underpinning the 5 export-driven clusters are 4 essential policy components, namely macroeconomic policy, social policy, environmental policy, and industrial strategy. One can argue the degree to which the NIP roadmap has or has not achieved its targets. The professor may have overestimated government's capacity and political will to pursue such a demanding set of activities over a 15-year period. But his brilliance and commitment to national development is there for posterity. And for this, a grateful nation awarded him the Order of merit. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Good evening again, listeners, viewers. We're going to take your calls now. The numbers are 630-937-124, 618-8255. Come chat with us.
It's time for a new look.
And high time to get serious about protecting our home and investment.
It's time to choose BH Paints with over 60 years experience in quality paint finishes. Their products are superior and long-lasting.
Time to check them out.
Ask about BH Paint's 100% acrylic Ultima Plus paint and primer in one. Experience rich colors with advanced UV and mildew-resistant technologies, independently tested by experts. What are you waiting for? Visit a BH Paints Color Center today.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Taboo topics,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
It's 7:10, as I said, we're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Derek, you're on the line. Good evening.
Good evening, Derek.
Hi. Yes, good evening. First time call to your station.
Welcome.
Yeah, man. So the JPS, the battle that we have been going on, and I heard the stories, but it was expected. JPS, in my mind, they charge for bulk electricity that they set, not necessarily what we consume. So from the day they came out and said that they're going to be sending an estimated bill, it was to cover, to show that most of the electricity that was generated at a time were not going. So all of it was not going to the people who were consuming, paying consumer. It was going to those people who were stealing electricity also. So that means they would not be able to recoup whatever they have expended in terms of energy. So how they have to do it? They have to increase the amount of charge to cover what they generate.
But they have a catastrophe fund. They wouldn't need to recoup those funds from citizens in that manner.
No, consider this. Half the country was without electricity then. And what they are generating, the people who were paying customer would consume their amount, but it was also consumed by people who were stealing electricity. So it means that they would have to put out more capacity than than the actual paying customer. So how do they get paid for that? What they did now was to put the differences across everybody's bill. That idea about fuel charge and all this thing, it doesn't add up. If people look into the consumption, what is the efficiency of those plants? What is the cost per kilowatt hour that those plants produce electricity for versus the gas plant?
As in the LNG plants, as I understand, it's significantly cheaper to run it using LNG than diesel or gas.
Naturally, it would be cheaper if you're using LNG. But the fact is, LNG does not produce electricity for the total consumption. What percentage of the total consumption of electricity does the LNG produce?
I don't have that figure off the top of my head. I think
it's a fuel for the kilowatt of energy generated. So what happened, if you look into it, they have put out a high capacity of electricity, but only a small percentage, or the relative percentage of paying customer, was not sufficient to cover that, because most of it is stolen. And where the electricity was generated, you look into some of the areas in Kingston, you have more stolen electricity in below the Walton Park, Linders Road, Arnett Garden, all of these areas, and these people were with light. So who was paying for it? The paying customer could not cover it. We have been covering when everybody is on the grid. It is not so bad. But when a few or a large number of the paying customers is off the grid, then how do you cover it? Except to spread it across the paying customer that is now getting electricity.
But certainly it cannot be the purview of the paying customer to have to cover the cost of the thieves in such a manner.
The problem that we're having is that people are asking a number of questions, but they don't know the answer to the question they're asking, and JPS is just telling us what they want to tell us, and we don't know if they're saying it right or wrong. So that's where the problem is.
I hear you, Derek.
Yes.
I mean, we agree. I don't think anybody else disagrees that JPS has some questions to answer, and the body to ask them is the OUR, who themselves now have questions that they need to answer to.
The OUR people, the people who are at the OUR, are they technical enough to be able to say? Because
they should be. The OUR is a very technical organization.
They can go in and do an audit and say, okay, let us see your consumption, because these are engineers' matter that can be forensically proven.
When the JPS goes to the OUR for a tariff or a rate adjustment, and you see the documents that is presented to the OUR and the documents that the OUR then sent to the public and back to the JPS, there is no way anybody could reasonably say that the OUR does not have the technical capacity to make those kind of analyses.
Well, certain it has not been proven that they have either they don't have the technical capacity, or they don't care. It has to be one of two.
Thank you for the call, my brother.
Just before I go another topic, I would suggest the best solution to all of this. Electricity is a national importance to any country, and I would suggest that we buy back. The government look into buying back the grid, and then encourage investors to come and attach to the grid, and then they pay a transmission rate that goes to the maintenance and operation of the system, and that can solve the problem of JPS solely being a monopoly, because at this time, the independent people, the people who have independent power, would like to sell power to the system, but the charge rate that JPS will charge to put it on the transmission is going to be too high. So therefore, it becomes impossible for them to come and compete. So if the government nationalize the grid and then encourage investors to come with their plans and tell us how much megawatt they want to put on what cost they can put it at, it will be a better system, I suggest.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, man. Cool.
And good evening to Clover Forrester on YouTube. And, of course, good evening to Marigold Weber. Good evening, guys. Who's next? Richard, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. I celebrate my birthday today now.
Happy birthday, Richard.
Thanks, man. Now, I'm looking at the scenario with Flow, because they were allowed to charge us a full rate that we normally pay because I have the yard and road system. And then they promised to give a rebate. Now, I don't really trust them, because they treat people like dirt, So what percentage of rebate are we going to get back? Because they said it's after 72 hours you're entitled to get a rebate, and I've lost service for 2 weeks. So how are they going to calculate that? Is anybody looking into that avenue?
Have you checked with them? To ask?
Well, I asked but you get in the customer service and they tell you that they don't know. And you ask to talk to a supervisor, they tell, oh, none is available. So that frustrates the system.
All right, we can try to check for you.
Yes. Another thing here, I am looking for private sector and the government to be charting this course where we look at solar energy and make it cheaper for people to can afford it. Because right now in India, certain part of Africa, small householders, that's what they use because they don't have electricity. So why we can't look at that? Because it is said if the solar system is properly installed, it can withstand the Category 5 hurricane. But because JPS is failing us too often, and I keep on wondering why they don't want to cut down these trees near the wire. They need to get the mandatory, put that in law, say this has to be done. Sometimes you wonder how these people think. Because two things before I close. Some people never take this hurricane serious and they thought it wasn't coming. Based on they say the talk is that we've been prepared for several and it never came. So why should I worry about this one? Plus JPS was not ready for a hurricane. I don't think they have the proper mindset was to deal with it. And they must be held accountable. And a man like me now who get damaged, I have to stand my own cost, but I have to pay to help them to sort out their costs. Makes no sense. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, thanks, Richard. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Ricardo. Evening, Chef.
Evening, Carl. How are you doing?
We're doing well, man. Get out your big book for achievement, Ricardo, before we start.
All right, go ahead, ready for it.
I must say,
yes, man.
All right, one of the big achievements of this government is when he carried Nigel Clark.
Okay.
And go back, Christopherson.
Mm-hmm.
And the big pit bull to take on JPS, Beryl Vaz.
Okay.
That is, when a minister can take on JPS, after JPS find with him pants take off completely a ground, you can call it, say, thieving is paying customer in our country, and JPS don't know where to turn.
Wait, say it again.
When them stealing.
As in customers?
The customer of Jamaica by padding them bill.
No, Carl, no. We have
You want me to withdraw that?
Yes, you should withdraw that. There is no evidence of that.
Right. Well, JPS is giving people. I heard George Monday morning say somebody tell him he used to pay $29,000.
Right. So there are discrepancies on the bills, but we have no evidence whatsoever of any padding of any bill.
Okay. All right. We withdraw that then.
Yes.
And when you look at what JPS was trying to do until Beryl Vaz take him on, and how come Beryl Vaz come to take them on today again, is because of the line Monday evening of that lady that said Mr. Clark
No, Carl.
What Mr. Clark said did not know nothing about it.
Miss Callum did not lie.
What she did then,
she
Ricardo?
Provided the information as she had it. At the time, it has since been clarified. Hold on. And I should also say to you that the Energy Minister has said that he does not believe Miss Callum is at fault. She simply relayed the information as she had it at the time. It turned out it was not correct.
He mislead the country.
Right. Inadvertently.
And yesterday evening again, you have an next gentleman there. He was spinning like when he used to do a country and drop a gig. He does not answer question. He try to put question what he feel he is comfortable with. Well, anybody who sit around a man like that as a board member, anytime the meeting call, he say sometime this month, then him alone supposed to sit. He say him do as he have a mind. None of the board members them did know say this is going to happen to the customer them. So he don't need none of them. Him alone can do what he have to do. Look at it careful. He don't need none of them. It's a shame to know that he could say that yesterday evening. that him alone take decision from a big company like that.
Well, I don't know that he said that he alone took the decision. He said he didn't
Him
advise the
say
board.
and him take the decision. None of the board members did know.
Right.
But even then, there's still the CEO and the president.
And what happened, Ricardo?
Yes, sir.
As far as I listen today, JPS with the taxpayer break, what the government use the taxpayer money and give JPS a break. JPS get $400 million off of that. And then it come with that debris that bill I give to people. So in all the government, it give them a break so quick. They never still care about the tax. The people them where we give them the break. When a lot of people doesn't understand that when a government give a waiver or things like that, it's not out of your pocket. Or if the British citizen was to come here and out of him pocket, is the taxpayer of Jamaica give you the break. And before me run, there's a fifth runabout in Longsville Park. And Jarrell going to call you tomorrow. It is in Mia Pen. JPS must get no pay for no street light in a southeast Clarendon after Longsville Park. And none of the street light them from the 5th roundabout to the 8th is not working. And a lot of people are complaining to me about it. Say when I'm a walk a morning time, I pay darkness. So JPS must get no pay drill. We have to get back something out of the 400 million that waiver that they get. Because if Miss Callum never mislead then and say tell the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Finance never even hitch the leap out of the block and say no. And that's so come we know so them even get a waiver. And when you look on those things, did she say it Monday evening? No. All of that was secret. And who did give them the waiver? The people of Jamaica will buy 1 tin of mackerel, 2 pounds of flour, and all of those things. Then could have give JPS the waiver. And JPS was killing us. Let me tell you something. If Darrell Valls never a leap out so now, can you imagine the problem with the economy with Aina? And sometimes when we look at it, somebody could have hand into this thing what happened. Because the body with you look over all of these things, them just give the okay. To just dash on. You see, like them just give the okay if you just dash on the high price for the people. And look on it and tap on things. If all of these things happening in the economy, and the manufacturer and all of these people who use JPS current, then everybody will have to raise them product to meet them bill.
All right, Carl.
And hold on before you run, Ricardo.
Yes, sir.
All of this discussion is going on for weeks now. Where is the British citizen to call a press conference? Make people can ask him what he think about what is happening concerning the JPS. What is happening? The British citizen is not here.
Mr. Golding is preparing for his conference next month. I think he was in South Trelawney.
Yes, and furthermore,
just last week.
His energy spokesman has spoken, as well as his general secretary have both spoken on the topic.
Ricardo, people say Ricardo, a person who claimed to say they want to leave Jamaica, and so much things is happening. Them should have said, well, make some journalists. Now they want to write in the Gleaner Company. We don't expect nothing better from Gleaner Company. We know where them stand concerning the JLP government. We all know. And doesn't like the JLP government. None at all, the Gleaner.
I don't know about that.
We know that.
I don't know about that,
Carl. We know that. We know all of those things. So the cleaner doesn't like to see the JLP.
I don't know that, but what is the point you're making?
And then could have come up and write such foolishness concerning the minister. What then did expect the minister to do? The minister to fall in hand? Well, I tell you, Monday evening, say Philip Parlell to keep silent. You remember me to tell you that? Because things are come up. Well, if me you live this Friday again, Mr. Parlell, keep yourself right where you is. No say nothing, sir. What good as boss Friday? All the way now here, not start yet.
Thank you, Carl. William, good evening.
Good evening. Go on, Timothy. How are you, Mr. Brooks?
I'm all right, William. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. How are Siobhan?
I'm doing quite well, William.
Yeah, my take, you know, this man I hear a gentleman called Cliff from somewhere down in St. Elizabeth. I don't remember the name of the district. I first heard that district.
Mm-hmm.
He was speaking about the JPS, how they come and put on lights some place. But he has one line. I think he said 12 of us live down in the little community where he is.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of they connect up his light and clean the line, they just cut off the wire will go down the area where they live. And no matter what they do, these people refuse to come and clean the line and connect up back the wire for them. That's his wife couldn't take it. That she take herself and gone, him never know where she gone. I don't know if I was listening this man with Cliff.
No, I didn't hear the call.
But Cliff can give him one it still. But you see, I am wondering, which asks you already, Mr. Brooks.
Uh-huh.
We need to hear about the service charge where this company charge us. It's our money. What is the reason why they charge the service charge?
You mean the utility companies?
Huh?
You mean the utility companies?
Right. The Water Commission do the same. The Water Commission service charge even more higher than JPS. Right? We are not getting that service. We're not seeing it. I'm thinking the OER need to come and make the public know what is this service charge for. Right? It's not fair to us. Because if you know how much, I think it's about $500 and something to $600 per person, I'll call it no per, what I'm call it no, per customers from the JPS. And the Water Commission is over $1,100 per customers. And this company has so much 1,000 customers. So if you go rough check, you know, these companies collecting over $5 billion a year for service charge. Right? And we're not seeing no improving it. We're not getting no benefit from it. So would I like you people to find out from the OU, I think them have the what call it now? They are the person who's supposed to get these information from these companies to make the public know what happened to our money. Why are we put on the back foot all of these cases? We don't have no argument. We don't have no talk. These companies just come and do what they want to do to us. Hello?
Yes, man. We're hearing you.
Yeah, man, so I'm very concerned putting to that. And also, I don't know if you could put it to the minister. I think it's a good time for if they could get in give some license for getting some solar person that put in some solar company. That's possible we can go into this company, take a solar panel, and can, what do I call it now?
Solar power is a very expensive venture, you know, William.
Repeat?
It's a very expensive venture to set it up.
And maintain.
Yeah, me know, but the point I'm making now, you would get it from them like when you take a mortgage, like you take a mortgage for your house, and you pay monthly to this company. They do all the service, whatever the case may be. You might have a lifetime at a 10 year or how much you don't want to give at a certain rate you pay till you pay it off. Kind of longer on this solar panel actually that be your own.
Okay.
So I don't know if the government are looking into that because based upon that now with this company, we can't face it no more. It's not fair to us as consumers in this country. As the gentleman before was talking, the first caller, Me know what him say. I think we and Tyrone discuss already. But, I don't know who in authority of them to listen to us much. I don't listen and up here pay us any mind. I don't know, but something needs to be done. It cannot continue like this. Sooner or later, possibly 60% of Jamaican are able to pay light or water. What do you happen after?
All right, William. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, man.
Have a good one. Julius, good evening. Julius? No, not hearing Julius. All right, so the numbers to call 630-937-124, 618-8255. Richie, good evening.
Good evening to the two generals.
How are you?
Good enough. I listen William talking about the solar companies. I don't know if they will do it that way anyway. But I use solar, and I have a company which they have 200 watt solar, and they sell for $250,000.
Is that inclusive of the installation? Is that inclusive of the installation cost?
I mean, it just something can't sell itself, But they have 200 watts for $250,000. And it only it can run AC. Everything else, so people can run a 2-bedroom house. 200 watts for $250,000.
But the question is how many Jamaicans can afford to put down $250,000 in a one-time setup.
That's a lot of money, but you have no. A lot of people can afford it still, but a lot of people might not know about it. But I know, according to what William is saying is like that he would not be able to afford it. But I'm just putting it out there that people who might need that help and who have the money to do it can get into it.
All right, Richie. Yeah?
Yeah, man, cool.
Julius, good evening.
Evening, how are you?
Boy, I'm tired. How you do?
Yes, everybody beating JPS bad man. But I noticed the OER keep quiet. What is happening with the OER?
Boy, I wish I could tell you every time we call them, they say they're not ready to talk yet.
We hear ministers, we hear management from JPS, we hear public going on here. Who are your reporter, JPS or the government?
It's an independent body.
Regulatory body.
Okay.
I think it's based
I'm
on the
not going in
cabinet
that. Everybody on that. I'm talking about December. Sting and this show for cartel and those things. What's happening with that?
Oh, I don't know.
I noticed all the bloggers and the YouTubers saying it's a big thing and cartel shouldn't put him show there and blah blah. But guess what happened? You can't believe a thing they say when one door closed, another open. Our blessing coming disguise. Cartel show right after Sting is a big bet. There's a big blessing for Sting. Lots of people will be in that island for cartel show, and because of that, they are going to go to Sting and then go to cartel show. So we put in limit on people pocket and budget, and I say, boy, them can't do this and them can't do that. They will do it. You see? And then cartel have a thing the other day. He said, him not being a people, and him name a few persons who we work with on film show. So Leng is a plus that again for Leng. Leng just need to go for the alkaline or money, and let's get some people on him show. You understand? It not going to affect the show, none at all. When I hear them, I say everybody I said this and I said that, and Leng a fret and blah blah. Leng show go on, cartel show go on, everybody again enjoy them. You will see.
All right, Julius.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man.
Anyhow, all the best.
Have a good evening, George.
Julius. It was Julius. Faithful.
Good afternoon, Chevron. Good afternoon, Mr.
Yo, Faithful, how you doing?
Good evening.
I'm giving thanks, whether or not. Mr. Brooks,
yes, sir.
Your uncle was interviewing the young man yesterday.
Vernon Douglas.
From JPS.
Yes, Vernon Douglas.
Good. And I read, you asked him, said, the amount of person that was on the grade. Did he say that the less amount of person on the grade, the bottom line would have to cover anyway still?
I honestly don't remember. I don't recall.
When when you're asking about how many persons was on the grill at that time, in other words, when do the calculation? If it's that's a private company, when the market go up, they gain, and when they go down, they lose. But JPS, the life that they are not supposed to lose any time at all. Is it not that they are guaranteed to make a profit anyway?
They're guaranteed to a certain level of net profit, yes.
Right, so it's not an up and down situation with them. It's all about winning. And the 50 million, was it 50 million? The guarantee that they're going to give each person $5,000. Don't incentive better wherever. So if they're going to give them $5,000, I don't want to use scam. And they're sending them bill. Is that not sound like some form of trick to me? Because if you're going to sell them bill, you're going to send a bill that is high, and you say give them, take out $5,000 off it. Does that make sense? It's not that they just send them a high bill and they say they take out $5,000 of it to make it look good. I don't know. I don't leave me alone, but that doesn't look so good to me.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah.
And if that company and as the OUR was supposed to monitor and to ensure that Jamaican people is secure or safeguard. There's no form of safeguard. Is it not that JP just run rampant around the people of Jamaica? And I'd maintain that I think electricity to come under security where you have security at tenure. Because I don't think no foreign company should have the power. Because everything run with JPS. Everything run with energy. Whether you use water, all of come under energy, and that's supposed to guarantee that a certain price is not supposed to go above to ensure that the country run and can run and good production and all these things. Am I alone thinking wrong way?
No, I understand what you mean. You're saying because of the importance of it, it shouldn't be privatized essentially.
Well, if you got privatized, it should be some
it should be the purview of national security, is what you say.
Do have no empathy for the people of Jamaica.
Mm. So if privatized, Jamaicans then should have the major stake.
Well, at least I think they would have some form of empathy with Jamaican people. I think they're far removed from the pain that we are feeling. Can you imagine those persons incentive so much time and do have the light? I heard a young man was telling Cliff that his wife gonna left him because she said she just can't take it anymore. No, man, this thing is terrible, man. The life need to look at, definitely. And I'm so ashamed of that entity, man. I was supposed to look out for the people of Jamaica. This is where the irony is. We said the government should not. I'm not talking about special government. No, the government should not run this company car. When it does, they're going to line their pocket and some form of corruption is going to take place. But when things go wrong, is the government getting the blame now?
True.
So they are in no win-win situation. And based on the legislature, and they add anything they can do.
Yeah.
So you see the irony that we are in?
All right, faithful.
It's very heartrending, man, and painful. Because when I hear the young man was talking yesterday, boy, a thousand things go through my mind. I said, no, this is wickedness, and because they just do things. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's terrible. It's wicked. It's a wicked thing, you know.
All right, thanks for the call, faithful.
Blessed.
Yeah, man.
Omalo.
Yeah, good evening, Good
evening, Omalo.
What the minister is reporting today about this overcharge, is this a criminal matter?
Well, first it has to be established whether there actually was an overcharge.
Huh?
First, let's wait until they establish whether there was actually an overcharge. He has given them until Friday.
I'm just going by what the minister has said.
Right, so he's given them until Friday to come back to him. He has said that his calculation suggests that there may be a
He has
discrepancy.
alleged that there is an overcharge.
Right. So let us
And
wait.
if there is an overcharge, isn't this it's supposed to be a criminal matter?
I couldn't answer that question.
You couldn't answer that question?
Yeah.
I've seen where inside the United States, when a company overcharge the citizens or do anything that is against the laws in the country.
Yes, they are
It becomes
prosecuted.
not
Yes.
something where they fine people, but it becomes a criminal matter.
Yes. Well, again, I don't know.
much-
But again, I don't know that we're at that place. Criminal
Okay, I'm going to watch and I'm going to wait
Or a
and I'm
civil
going to
matter,
look
rather,
and
civil
I'm going to see if the allegation that Jamaicans are being charged, because if I'm running a company and I'm overcharging people, I know it's a criminal matter and the police are coming in, come deal with me.
I think it's more a civil matter, actually,
Civil
than a
matter.
criminal. Yeah, I think it's more a civil matter than a criminal matter. But
Okay.
as I say, I don't want to go down that road because I'm not sure.
Okay, please, let's not go down the road until we find out that. Okay? All right. The next thing is that Jamaica economy really isn't a problem, and the problem is the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is not something that Jamaica can print. We have to earn it, and we have limited means of earning it right at this moment, and we are running a fiscal trade deficit. With that big deficit that we are running, and we are not making enough U.S. dollar to buy the goods to bring into Jamaica, we are going to have to remove the capital out of the market because there's going to be a great demand with too much money chasing too little bit of goods. And that is going to cause inflation. Our problem is that we are not producing nothing for export. We have no means of earning the U.S. dollar. That is our problem. Until we change the economy, where we stop relying on foreign investors running a macro economy, paying down debt, relying on foreign investors to come in and invest, which they are not coming to Jamaica because we don't have cheap energy. We don't have a court system that gives timely justice. We don't have good infrastructure. We don't have the education system that is geared towards the future of where the growth is coming from, the technology and the science. So the government needs to change its policy and start invest in the economy in terms of carrying down the energy price. I think wheat farm was supposed to produce energy so that we could rely less on foreign barrels of oil or LNG, so that would create we spending less foreign currency buying these things. We have a problem, bro. We have a problem. Our economy, where it is at and what is going on, just focusing on paying down debt. We are going to be in the same problem. That's the same thing PJ Patterson and Omar Davis was doing. Borrowing money, paying down debt, and borrowing money, paying down, and not investing in nothing. And when they invest in pitching up a hospital there, put on a little paint over there, fix couple roads, patch up couple roads. The same thing we are doing. We have to change. We cannot continue going down this road. From 2019, we are talking about, let's go back to 2019 and see how the economy was at 2019 before the pandemic. We were slowing down because there is so much houses we can build for people to buy them. And that is where you find the banks are putting their money. So it's not into production, manufacturing, and agriculture. It's into housing for people to store wealth. I'm sorry to say, bro, we ain't this economic structure, it ain't going nowhere. Nice talking to you.
Thanks, Omalo.
Thanks, Omalo.
Okay.
Who's next? Yeah, still taking your calls, 630-937-124, 618-8255, and the YouTubers I see are reacting to Omalo's suggestions. They don't seem that they're very persuaded by...
To the best of my knowledge, if you've been accused of, as if a company has been accused of either overcharging or overpricing a good, it's usually a class action matter, not necessarily a criminal
Right,
penalty.
which is what I'm saying. It would be a civil... I imagine that would be a civil case. Yeah. All right, let's take the break. Yeah, come back with more of your calls.
Office Supplies Brokers Limited is having its grand back-to-school sale this Saturday, August 24, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Get unbeatable deals on all your school supplies. Seek exercise books at factory prices. Stock up and save big. Visit 26 Dunrobin Avenue or call 876-676-6930. Office Supplies Brokers Limited, your one-stop shop for all your back-to-school needs.
Taboo topics. Bulletins after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Bulletins after dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins after dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins after dark.
Welcome back. Errol, you're on the line. Good evening.
Xavier. Hello.
Hello, Errol.
Oh, go on, brother. A long time. I'm not shouting up, you know.
How are you doing?
I'm good, you know. Man. Good. So, what may I say? You hear me?
We're hearing you.
Yeah, what may I say, man? The man, them know dog Clarendon there. Where the people have dead off with it, you see? And the man put up the fire, say, he want like the fire and the police and the soldiers don't want him like this. And what caused that?
What's that? I don't know. What situation was that?
Eh?
What situation was that? I don't know.
Because they say they don't want to camp like they just want to burn the fire.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
You never see it on the news?
No.
Oh. You get to see it on the news?
No, I didn't see it.
Again, now the JPS law with them look mix up plastic. Vase, I say, a 6% island, never say a 32. So how that go?
That's what
Clearly somebody's math is wrong.
Eh? Hello?
You hear me, Errol? I said clearly somebody's math is wrong. It's just to figure out whose math is.
You
have the radio on, Errol?
Oh, to the hall. Well, I'll go to the hall.
No, Lord. All right.
No.
Errol?
Yeah.
Yes.
What just happened now?
Siobhan is saying to you that somebody has the wrong math. So we're waiting to see who has it wrong.
Yeah, but who will have the wrong math? Because the woman that say one thing, Vaz that say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
For the country they want to lie. So, in space how we the light bill gone up so high.
Good questions you're asking, Errol. We're asking the same questions.
And just hoping to get the answers from the one body that is able to provide those answers.
Well,
waiting for OUR to tell us.
Me they are listen for the answer, you know. JPS was a competition. So that them two questions me asking tonight. Yes, sir.
All right, my brother.
Yeah.
Who's next? All right, so Robert, good evening. Robert?
Yeah?
Yes, we're hearing you, Robert. Go ahead.
Yes, man. Yes, I would like to commend the police on quick investigative work in holding the two, arresting and charging the two persons for the the massacre over there in Clarendon.
Yes.
I must commend them. We need to give the police, credit where credit is due.
Agreed.
Because times, gone are the times when people think things like this and the men would get away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're not accusing that they are guilty, but at least, it's a step in the right direction. We're getting somewhere. Someone's been held and charged, and they'll be brought before the court, and then we'll take it from there.
Right. So hopefully now a successful case can be made in court.
Yes, and the witnesses must come forward because that's a very horrific event.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, man. Must come in the police, Fitz Bailey. I don't know when it's time has come for him to.
I don't know. I think they should extend it. I feel like they should extend it. I don't think they should allow him to go off on retirement.
Because he's
doing a good job.
He's making a human contribution to the society.
But then I suppose people will say, boy, when you work hard for so long, you're entitled to your retirement, eh?
Yeah, I hope you haven't understood the
There's only so much you can give.
Yeah. Well, I would like to see them find a role that he can play, perhaps an advisory role. We haven't had a national security advisor since.
Don't be surprised if you see him come run an election.
Oh,
you expect to see?
I don't know which party, but don't be surprised. Because some of these men, when you see them come out of service, them whether politics.
But he's done a good job, though. He's doing a good job.
You must commend him. And I wouldn't advise him to go into any politics because we don't want to tarnish his work over the years.
Yeah.
Or his reputation. Take care, gentlemen.
All right.
I received something from a caller who's pointing out that if you're looking to essentially go off of the JPS grid, there are quite a few facilities available through the government and otherwise where you can get a loan and pay for solar installation piece by piece. So you have
good. Who was
solar. You have a solar panel loan from the National Housing Trust. The Exim Bank has a solar energy solution business loan. The VM DBJ through VM Financial Group has another one for renewable energy loans. GMMB has one as well, solar energy loans, Solar Buzz Jamaica. So there are quite a few.
So there are options, William.
So if you really want to get rid of the headache that is JPS, you have opportunities available to you through banks as well as the government. To make that switch.
All right.
And this was provided by Keith Duncan.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Duncan. Yeah, all right. So that's going to do it for us this evening. Thank you, Dana Davey. Thanks to Andrew Glenn Anderson, the members of the newsroom led by Cara Powell. Thank you so much. Thanks to our sponsors, our contributors, and you, our valued listeners. We appreciate you so much. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good evening.